I don't recommend it at all. So hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. It's currently December 31st, so New Year's Eve, and I know you guys are going to be watching this a lot later than New Year's Eve in 2025, but I wanted to start this video because I want to film every single reaction to a book that I get this year until I get my first 5-star of the year. I have a lot of anticipated reads for 2025, and I want to see how long it takes me to get my first 5-star read. So I'm currently reading God of Malice, which is a book that I've actually already posted a vlog about as of the time that you're watching this video, so I'll link that vlog down below, along with any other vlog that I happen to cover while filming this video, because I'm going to be filming 2 things at once. But I'm not gonna lie, this book is not going great. You guys will have known my full thoughts by now, but I'm honestly kind of hating this book. Similar to Haunting Adeline, I feel like it is romanticizing SA and other like violent things that I think should not be romanticized in a contemporary romance book. So although I love a dark romance, don't get me wrong, this one is just kind of pushing the line too far in my opinion, but I am going to push through and see how it goes, at least to finish the book, see what happens. I'm currently at 40%, but I'm not going to finish it today, so it will be the first book that I finish in the new year, and hopefully it will not take me long in 2025 to find my first 5-star. Crossing my fingers, at least. Okay, hello. So it is a couple days later since the first clip, and I just finished God of Malice this morning. I gave this book 1 star. Again, you guys already saw the vlog of me reacting to this, so you know all of my thoughts if you've seen that video, but basically I think that this was just romanticizing violence, romanticizing sexual assault, demonizing someone who supposedly went through a very dark time in their life. I don't want to say too much about that because that could be a spoiler, but I don't think this book should really have spoilers because I don't think you should read it. I don't recommend it at all. So 1 star for this. I'm very annoyed that my first book of the year was just a 1 star. Like, what a way to start out 2025, am I right? But I have high hopes because the next book I'm getting into is a fantasy and it's going really well so far, so hopefully the next book will be a little better. But yeah, not a 5-star, not at all. I'm filming for like 3 different vlogs at once, almost about to be 4 vlogs, so I'm like doing a lot of back and forth, and I'm trying to remember what I haven't filmed for each one, but I have quite a few updates for this one because I think I've only talked to you about God of Malice so far, and I have read 3 books in the past week. It is currently January either 12 or 13. So the first book that I finished over the past week was actually Fourth Wing. I love Fourth Wing, guys. This is such a fun romp of a fantasy book. It is not a perfect book by any means at all. It's not immature, but there are some grammar things, like she'll do like 1-word period, 2-word period, 3-word period, and I'm like, okay, all right, we're getting a little dramatic here. But I really, in the reread of this book, which by the way, if I didn't mention that, this was a reread for me. I've read this book before when it came out. While going through this book for a second time, it really just stood out to me like how fast-paced it is. Like, this is why I think this is a great book for beginners to fantasy, because it gets through every scene very quickly and there's a lot of things happening. Like, there's not really any point in this book where we're just kind of sitting and waiting for things to happen. There's always something around the corner. The romance is good, the plot is good. I love the dragons, they're so much fun. If you haven't picked this up and you want to get into fantasy, this would be a great place to start. I did give this book 5 stars. However, I don't think it counts towards this vlog because it was a reread, so I was expecting to give it 5 stars, but I feel like that's cheating. So I'm still continuing this vlog. I'm not ending after 2 books, but it is funny that the first book I read in the year was 1 star, and then the second book I read was 5 stars. Next thing that I read was The Emperor by Runix. So I have read the first 2 books in this series. I read them in like September of 2023. It's a mafia book series. It's really, really good. At least the first 2 books were really good. I gave them both 4 stars. Then I picked up The Emperor a couple months later and I soft DNF'd it. I was just not feeling it. I don't know how to explain it. I knew the characters already. I kind of knew the story, but I just didn't feel that drawn in. So I put it down knowing that I would come back to it at some point. I decided to pick it up because it was just sitting on my Kindle and I had nothing better to read when I was on vacation. And I went through the entire thing, and unfortunately it still did disappoint me. This book follows 2 side characters that we met in the first 2 books, but now it is their romance, and they're childhood friends to lovers because Amara, our main girl character, her mother is the housemaid of Dante, who is the son of a mafia boss's household. So they are basically, I wouldn't say like his servants, that seems like very harsh. I feel like her mother is treated very well. She is paid paid well and they just happen to live on the same property. But there is a little bit of a power imbalance in that Amara is a housemaid's daughter and he is the daughter of the mob boss. He is a little bit older than her, so it's a lot of like her crushing on him for the beginning parts of the book, which is really sweet because you get their point of view as children. It's like funny to see her like have a little girly crush, and he's just like, he likes her, he thinks that she's like a cute kid. And I do think that the concept of their story is really beautiful. Now I would say this is a very dark romance. It deals with mafia and the darker side of mafia, so we do have sex trafficking in this book, not with this mafia but with an enemy group. Not described in incredible detail, but it definitely is explicitly mentioned. I think we know this going into this book from the first two books, but she was taken. Because of what happened, her life is irrevocably changed after that, and so it is the story of Dante helping her helping him. And I think the concept is good, the story is good. I think that it was a story worth telling. However, I don't think the execution was there at all. And by the way, I'm elaborating on this book a lot more because it's not mentioned in any other vlog that I've made, whereas Fourth Wing and God of Malice were mentioned in other vlogs, but this one I just wanted to yap about because I didn't talk about it on camera yet. I just think that Runix, when she was plotting the book, like if there was a timeline of events that could happen in a long version of the book, and then you look at it and you say, you know what, I want only the best of this to kind of shorten it down, so I'm gonna pick this section and this section. It's like she took the opposite of the good sections and then she developed those instead. And so all the sections that I wanted development on, all the things that I needed a little more of, she kind of just summarized and quickly brushed over. And then she spent a lot of time developing things that I just didn't care about or I didn't need. She's coming back from her traumatic experience and she's healing from that. I would have loved to have more development on those sections, and we didn't get that. I also think that there's a side character in this book that comes in close to the very end that I didn't get enough of, that I wanted more development of. There are plot twists at the end that didn't hit as hard because we didn't have the relationship development at the beginning. So it's just like she focused on the opposite of what I wanted her to focus on, and therefore the execution of the story was not good. So I gave this book 3 stars, and unfortunately I do not intend to continue the series. And then the last book that I finished recently was Heavenly Bodies by Imani Iru. I vlogged this in my first vlog of the year, and I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was just a beautiful fantasy romance book. It's very celestial, which is really cool to see that kind of magic system in place. I thought that the plot was pretty good, but I thought the romance was better than the plot, to be honest. I love the romance between the two of them. A lot of yearning in this book, which I really appreciate. That is what makes a good fantasy romance, in my opinion. And also the plot twist at the end was incredible. I read this on the airplane in audiobook format, and I was just listening to it like, oh my god, what is happening? So this book was really good, 4 stars, and it is being traditionally published, which is why I'm not reading the indie published version. I'm going to read only the trad published ones, but the next book doesn't come out for at least another like year maybe, so it is on my series to continue list. That's that. So those are all the books that I have read so far. Hopefully I can find a 5-star that isn't a reread very soon. Hello. We are back in my dorm, which I'm so excited about. It has been one hell of a weekend, let me tell you. I moved in early to college because over the past weekend I actually went to Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I'm in a media team at university where I help do the media and social media and marketing for club sports, and hockey had an away series in the Northeast, so the exec team went for a couple days. Going and seeing the guys play was really fun. So it is currently 2:45. I've been awake since 1 a.m. this morning Eastern time, which is midnight Central time, so I've been awake for like 14 hours and it's only 2 p.m. I start my school semester tomorrow, and tomorrow is, drumroll please, January 21st, which means that Onyx Storm comes out tomorrow. And I have that book pre-ordered to deliver to my mailroom tomorrow. And I'm also planning on vlogging it, so I think you guys have already seen that vlog. But anyway, I am just so hype for Onyx Storm to come out. Now, in preparation for that, I also wanted to read, of course, Fourth Wing, which you guys already saw, but I also read Iron Flame. So here she is in all of her glory. I read this book last week, and I finished this like the day, or on the plane to Pennsylvania, which is funny because I was also reading Fourth Wing while waiting for a different plane to Nashville 2 weeks ago. So I've been on a lot of planes recently. recently. It's kind of a lot. Here's the thing about this book, okay? Everyone hates on Onyx Storm. They do. I read this book right when it first came out in November of 2023. And then as people were starting to read it and became more popular, I was hearing all the backlash and bad comments about this book. And I'm not going to lie, as much as I don't want it to, whenever I hear people have bad reviews or bad experiences with books that I really liked, or vice versa, it tends to alter my taste a little bit. Like, I should be able to form my own opinion 100%, and I'm trying to work on that. But like, hearing people say bad things about this book and like what they had issues with, it makes me wonder whether or not this was actually worth the 4 stars that I gave it when I first read it. So it was a step down from Fourth Wing, but I still really enjoyed this. Like, 4 stars is still a great rating for me. I was nervous going back into this whether I would really let those other people's, negative experiences affect me, but really rereading this, I stand by my 4 stars. Like, okay, are there problems? Yes. I think that the miscommunication in this book is really annoying and frustrating. I want to like pull my hair out sometimes at Violet and Xaden's back and forth on trust, whether we love each other, what secrets can I tell you, and I don't want to have you until I know I can have all of you, those kinds of things. I'm just like, it is frustrating to read. It's difficult, okay? I want to punch them and shake them so much in this book, but the thing is, if you think about it, like, she's what, 20, 21? He's a couple years older than her, like 23-ish. Like, there's going to be miscommunication if you think realistically about it. Is it enjoyable to read? No, but like, I understand it, kind of, and I think so much of this book makes up for it. I don't want to spoil anything, but the scene in the middle of the book where she is kept somewhere for multiple days, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. That scene broke me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. When I first read it, sobbed, cried my eyes out. And then at the ending with that plot twist, the plots in this book is wild. Like, okay, I kind of guessed it when I first read it. This time I knew it was coming and I still had trouble holding back tears while on a plane in public. Like, it was hard to read even though I knew what was coming. And also, I think Rebecca Yarros is just so good at putting in Easter eggs in her books. Like, the things that we just like pick up and forget about because she gives us so much new information as we go along. In the reread, you catch those things you may have forgotten in the first read. So it was just really incredible to reread this. And like I said, Onyx Storm comes out tomorrow and I am like foaming at the mouth to get my hands on that book. So I'm not sure where exactly it's going to fit on my bookshelf, mind you, because it is like full to the brim. And on that note, I wanted to also in this vlog do a bookshelf tour because when I came back from Houston for the second semester, I brought home quite a few books. So I have a lot more books that I need to fit on the shelf than I had whenever I left, and I'm only getting more. I did the engraving stamp that my sister gave me for Christmas on all of my books, and now they all have the little, like, can you see it? It says from the Library of Sophie Winston. Anyway, it all has a little engraving stamp on them, all of my books. And there should be 75 books on this shelf. Now, one of them is not mine. This one is my friend's that she's loaning me because my 3 friends are doing a book swap. So I gave my friend When the Moon Hatched, she gave my other friend something else, and my other friend gave me this. So this one isn't mine, but I'm counting it as 75 because, again, I gave a book to get this one. Onyx Storm will make 76. So it's very similar to my old setup, but I did do a little bit of rearranging, so I want to do a quick tour. Up here is my contemporary romance shelf as it always was. I just added a couple books, so I had about this many before. These top 3 are technically still on my TBR shelf. That's Book Lovers, Daydream, and Terms and Conditions. However, there is no more space on my TBR shelf, so they had to go up here. Down here is my Sarah J. Maas shrine. It was just the Throne of Glass series, but to save space at the bottom, I also added the 2 Crescent City books that I have, and then it just so happens that the last book that doesn't fit is the only yellow one, so it looks very intentional that it's like over here. These are like more of my fantasy favorites, so to say. So of course we have the Fourth Wing series, Six of Crows duology. ML Rio isn't really fantasy, but I felt like the vibes make it go up here. I don't know, it just is. For the Wolf, Bride, and then of course my Powerless series. Down here, this is my TBR shelf that couldn't fit the 3 contemporary romances. Everything else down here for the majority is fantasy. This is contemporary YA, and then this one is also a contemporary romance. It's just a normal adult book. Everything else here I'm pretty sure is some form of fantasy, and as you can see, we are stuffed to the brim with all of these books. Then these last ones down here, these are just leftover fantasy and other things. So I have the book that my friend gave me, Heartless Hunter is fantasy. This is contemporary fiction. Actually, it's more like historical fiction. These 2 are the first 2 books in Phone Devices. I have the 3rd one on my TBR shelf. Touch of Darkness is fantasy. This is the Shiver series. It's fantasy. Spark of the Everflame, Lee Bardugo's Familiar, and The Invisible Life of Ida LaRue. I have read all of these besides this one. This is technically a TBR, but it also doesn't fit on the shelf. So again, do my best. And then down here is just miscellaneous and also books from my childhood mostly. So I have all of the Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson stuff. This is series 1 and series 2. And then on the left, I have a couple historical fictions, a couple classics like Little Women and Anne of Green Gables. I also have Tattooist of Auschwitz down there and The Song of Achilles. There we go. That is the updated bookshelf tour. I'm really happy with it, but again, it's going to fill up even more very quickly. I am so hungry. I just have lunch. I got a bagel and I'm going to eat it after I finish this clip. It's 3:30 p.m. I just got out of class. I need to eat. But I wanted to talk first about books, of course. So I have finished 2 more books in the time since I last recorded for this vlog, one of which I made an entire reading vlog for, as you guys have seen in the past couple of weeks. Hopefully you guys have watched it. If not, go watch. Great vlog. Kind of a long one, but it was a good time. And that book is Onyx Storm. So I finished this book yesterday, actually, and it was a whirlwind. The first half of the book I took like 4 or 5 days to get through, and then the last 50% I sped through in like 36 hours. I'm not even kidding. Like I said in the vlog, the very ending of this book was so abrupt. I was like in shock. And then I went on Instagram, TikTok, and I found different people with their spoilery conspiracy theories or their opinions about the end of this book. I have so many thoughts about this book that are mostly spoilery, so if you want to hear about all those thoughts, go watch the video because I talked about them in length. But all that to say, this book I ended up giving 4.5 stars. It was a really good book, do not get me wrong. I mean, 4.5 is an amazing rating. I didn't give it 5 stars just because it didn't give me that feeling of 5 stars like the first book in the series, Fourth Wing, did. I feel like this book has a lot of characters, a lot of plot. Things are always going on. The romance is delicious. Xaden is love my life. Spicy scenes in this always hit, but they're not too many, which I appreciate. It was a well-written book. Honestly, I have 0 complaints about this, except for maybe how fast the ending was and the immense cliffhanger that we were left at, and that now I have to wait like at least a year, maybe 2 years, to figure out what's happening next. And then after that, so that was yesterday, right, that I finished that, I knew that if I didn't read something immediately, I'd be in a book hangover after that book. However, I didn't want to read something that was going to take a lot of brain power because, again, I didn't want to have to compare it to Onyx Storm. So the perfect solution for me was to read a reread, first of all, and also something that's going to be quick and easy to get through. My decision that I kind of impulsively picked up, and this is going to be kind of a wild and crazy choice. You're not expecting this, I know. But I picked up Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan. I don't really have any words for this. I'm sorry. I just wanted a fun time. Okay? Percy Jackson is like my guilty pleasure. This series, then the second series, which is called Percy Jackson and the Olympians, were one of my favorite book series in like middle school, and I stand obsessed with them. It's more of a nostalgic thing for me, kind of like how the Shiver series is for me. It is a very YA book, clearly. When I listen to it, because I did most of it on Audible, when I listen to it, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know this is kind of a cringy joke, and it's like whatever. It's also written like in the early 2010s, so you gotta keep that in mind as far as humor goes. But like, if I was back in middle school, like I am not surprised that I ate this up because I feel like this is a great book for like a younger audience. It's funny, it's fast-paced, I love the characters, it's very quick, it's about 311 pages. I literally listened to almost the entire thing on audiobook today in a span of a couple hours when I was doing some work. It was such a fun time, and I gave this 4 stars. Argue with a wall, this is fantastic literature. Like, if you actually look at this edition, I've had this for years. Like, the spine is cracked, there's literally like pieces tearing off of it. It's like old, worn, and loved. This is like a treasured possession of mine. I have no shame. So, Percy Jackson, Titan's Curse, 4 stars. That's all I've read recently. I'm starving, so I'm gonna eat my lunch. This might be the exact same angle as the last clip that I did for this video. If so, I'm sorry. Hope I can like put something in between these 2 clips. But I wanted to yap in this clip because I had a sudden instinct, a sudden urge to pick up Blood and Ash on my Kindle by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a reread book for me. I read this book in like 2020, maybe 2021, somewhere around there. And I gave this entire trilogy 5 stars when I read it, but I would say that since my tastes have changed a lot, so I was interested going into it because I've heard a lot of people hate this series and this book, and I've heard some people love it, and they love how it's interconnected with the Flesh and Fire series that Jennifer is also in the middle of writing. And although I understand the critiques that some people have for this book, I'm currently about 15% of the way through, starting last night. I'm like flying through it, and I'm loving it. I'm like, damn, Sophie, like past Sophie, had great taste. This is like a spicy, romantic-y with, I wouldn't say vampire elements. There's definitely some like supernatural creatures that we're being introduced to that was kind of a mix between like a werewolf vampire, which is kind of ironic. It is such a fun, guilty pleasure of a time that I'm just super excited to be reading it. So although I should be focusing on the books for my next video, I am hooked on this. I'm hoping that I can finish this soon, and maybe I can even fit it in my January wrap-up video because January ends tomorrow. We will see. Hello, happy Sunday. So I know that in the last clip in this vlog, I was just talking to you guys about From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, okay? I am loving that book so far. I'm loving it. It's so good. But I'm not going to talk about it right now because I want to talk about a different book instead that I finished in between the last update and right now, okay? So this book is going to be in a separate vlog, so don't worry, I will talk about it more in detail then. But yesterday I finished Bridge Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen. Now, I had quite a journey with this book, okay? I will say, again, I'm going to talk more about it in a different video, but I did actually soft DNF this book and then picked it back up again within like 24 hours. It was a mess. This book is about a girl who is raised to become a spy in a rival kingdom. She's raised to go marry the king, infiltrate their politics and their system, and basically send back secrets to her home kingdom, who then can conquer the rival kingdom, which is called the Bridge Kingdom, by the way. That's why it's Bridge Kingdom, get it? But as we can all guess, she falls in love with the guy and realizes that all the things that she thought she knew are wrong. It's the story of her figuring it all out and trying to do the best thing for her kingdom and the person she loves. The first chapter had my jaw dropped. I was going to start annotating this book. I actually have annotations in it, just a couple of little like underlined things, you know, not much. But then I kept reading and I realized that I was so bored. Like, the plot after that beginning section just kind of went downhill in that it was very predictable. They didn't really act like enemies for a long time. Plot was kind of all over the place with her fear of water, and then there's snakes, and I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this. Basically, I was bored. I gave this book 3 stars, okay? It was fine, but it wasn't anything better than that. I liked the atmosphere. I liked the setting of this a lot. It takes place over a bunch of different islands in like an archipelago connected by one big bridge. Jungle aesthetic, like I said, snakes, water, boats. The cover's gorgeous, but the contents were incredibly mid in my opinion, so I gave it 3 stars, but at least I finished it, okay? Now, as far as Blood and Ash goes, I am loving that book. I'm currently reading it on my Kindle. I'm 65% of the way through this book. From what I remember, there were a couple scenes that stood out to me that I remembered from when I first read this book years ago, and I thought that they were very early in the book for some reason, like at the 20% mark. I'm remembering a scene specifically under a willow tree. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, right? And I thought for some reason that was very close to the beginning of this book, but tell me why it didn't happen till like past 50%, and I was like, my memory is not very good, I guess. But I'm still loving this. It's flying by so fast. Mind you, this is a 600+ page book, okay? But maybe it's because it's a Kindle, but I don't think it's because I'm a Kindle. I think I'm just absorbing it so quickly because the story is so good. I love the characters, and then the plot is interesting. The writing is so bingeable, so absorbable. I'm really crossing my fingers. I'm hoping and praying that by the end of this book, I will still give it that 5-star rating that I gave it when I first read it in like 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. If this book, as the ending of this book, lives up to the hype. Let's just cross our fingers. I did my nails yesterday, and I feel like I come on this channel a lot and say that, and then I'm like comparing what I like and what I don't like about my nails. So I was doing this like light lilac lavendery color. Is it gonna focus? Can you focus? Please focus. There we go. But then I realized that I had in my closet these like nail, they're not gems, they're not rhinestones, it's just like confetti almost, but it's like sparkly that you can put on your nails. But I had such a hard time getting it. I only did like the little tips of every nail, but I had such a hard time. Would you focus, please? I feel like it's gonna be dark, but you can kind of see like how the tips are reflective. Anyway, all that to say, I only did one hand in sparkles and the other hand's not, because although I do like the sparkles from some angles, from other angles it just looks messy, and like because I had to add an extra layer of top coat, it like made the nails puffier than these, so I feel like they're just like more chunky. I don't know. My internal debate right now is just me looking at my hands and being like, which one is the worst of 2 evils? But I want to come on here because I'm currently at 96% of the way through Blood and Ash. As you guys know, you can probably tell from me talking in this video so much, which by the way, this video has lasted almost a month to the day, maybe a little longer, because it's currently February 2nd, and I started this on like the 1st of the year, or maybe it was New Year's Eve. Still haven't found a 5-star book yet. And I also think I've like worn this shirt already in the video, which is kind of funny. However, I'm currently 96% of the way through this book, and I'm eating it up. It is so good. I feel like it's gonna be a 5-star. So I wanted to record my last couple minutes of me reading it, just like the last couple pages. I'm on page 588. Like, it's a long book, but I'm almost done. So let me read the last little bit. Last chapter, chapter 41. That's such a random odd number to end a book on. Like, could you not do 40? But whatever. I forgot about this scene. It's like the very, very end when they're like walking into the dining hall and like there's a surprise waiting for her. Yeah, I think I remembered that from the first time I read it. Oh my goodness. He's so hot. Oh my god. What did I tell you? 5 stars. And that ending. Oof. I'm so excited for this series. Okay, I remember some of what happened from my reread, but again, I read this book for the first time like at least 4 years ago, so it's been a hot second. I do think there are flaws in this book for sure. I think some parts of it are just a little bit like repetitive in some ways. Like, she's in a bedroom thinking she goes somewhere, she comes back to the bedroom, she thinks some more, she goes somewhere, she comes back. But like, I don't really care. The author uses a lot of like ellipses, which I've heard people comment, and that's just like an annoying thing in the writing. Like, there'll be a lot of like pauses if you're reading it out loud. Small grammar thing, it doesn't really bother me. Again, there are issues with this book, but I feel like every book is going to have its issues. No book is absolutely perfect. Even my favorite books of all time still have their small nitpicky things that I could bring up, but in my opinion 5 stars is a feeling, and that's why I've been trying to get that feeling all month so far, month and a couple days, because they're great books, don't get me wrong, like amazing books, but if I don't feel like giddy and like so connected, you know, I just want to keep reading, I want to like devour this book, then it's not really a 5 star for me. But for Blood and Ash, for some reason, like it really checked that box. Now I'm thinking to myself, okay, so earlier in this video I read Fourth Wing and I gave it 5 stars, right? And I said that I wouldn't count that as the end of the video because it was a reread for me. This is also a read for me, technically, so I guess I'm like going back on my word, but I have been filming this video for a month. I've recorded like I think at least 10 books, and also I'm thinking to myself, like, Fourth Wing I reread, but I knew there was gonna be a 5 star when I started the book. I love Fourth Wing, like I remembered everything that happened basically, like it was good to reread it, but I was just like, I knew the rating would not change. This book, because people have said it's really cringy, because I read it so long ago, like it's been longer since I've read Fourth Wing for the first time, I was honestly thinking I was gonna bring it down to like a 4 star no matter how good it was, because I just thought that my tastes have changed, you know? So although it is a reread, I am still surprised that I'm giving this 5 stars. Anyway, with all that being said, I really don't have to explain myself, like it's my channel, I make the rules. And I also want to end this video because I've been filming for so long. Technically we have 2 5 stars in this video, but the official one that's going to end the video will be this book from Blood and Ash. I hope this video wasn't too repetitive because I was filming books I've already talked about in different vlogs and in my reading wrap-ups. Let me know if you like this format, if you want me to try something different if I do this video again. As always, do subscribe. I post book videos every Thursday, and I know a lot of you who watch my videos are not subscribed, so you definitely should subscribe. We have so much fun over here. I love you so much, and if you want to watch my last video that I posted, this right here on the screen is my January wrap-up and February TBR. I will see you guys in this video. Have an amazing week. Goodbye.